What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadski, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. Today we're here to talk about the Five Elders, man. The Five Elders, the new part of the sugo-fest here with Jupiter and this guy right here, Noosejuro. Look, these units, they seem pretty cool. I'm actually a really big fan of the way that they kind of designed, because they seem like they're going to be very, very good together. So we're going to kind of discuss the synergies between these units here today. And look, there's still going to be two more of these characters that are going to be debuting likely in a couple weeks time. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us. So we are expecting, like, probably when the treasure map stuff drops is when, like, part 3 is going to drop with the other two guys, with Warcury and Mars, I think it is, or Mars, I don't know. Either way, the bird and the boar, those are the two guys that are left. And when all of this is said and done, I believe that's probably going to be like the treasure map team that they want you to use is literally just using all 5 of these characters, which would be kind of absurd. But let's get into breaking down exactly what's going on here, right? So we understand that they all work together, but what do they actually do together, right? So I've kind of like gone through these characters on a notepad. I've kind of written down just generally what to expect here for each of these units. So with Saturn, the thing is Saturn and this guy right here, Jupiter, are very much one and the same. Is they're kind of designed almost identically to each other, but obviously some slight differences where, you know, you can switch and change them as a captain depending on the situation at hand. And I feel like that's kind of the basis for like all of these units. Like, yes, they all work really well together, but depending on the content, you can switch and change and have whatever you want. And I think it opens up for some very interesting team builds, right? So as for Saturn, the thing about him is that as a captain, what most of them do are giving a buff to Driven and another class and a color. So whatever type and classes they are, they give boosts to those characters. They also will all make recovery and their own type of slot matching. So we have this guy, Saturn, giving int and recovery matching. This guy makes dex and recovery matching. And then this guy makes psi and recovery matching. So obviously there's that. Another thing to note is that all of their crewmate abilities are very, very good too. So Noosejuro's crewmate ability, he makes psi slots matching. And also gives like some attack boost, all that good stuff. We have Saturn with his crewmate ability, makes int slots beneficial to Driven. And then we have Jupiter, who will go ahead and make dex slots beneficial. So you can already see the theming here, where eventually, when we get all of these guys together, you've got like your captains, whatever it be. Let's say Jupiter and Saturn make dex and int matching. You have Noosejuro making psi matching. And you can have the strength and the quick guy, which we assume are going to have crewmate abilities to make their own slot matching. And then all of these captains all make recovery matching as well. So what this would mean is that when they're all together, you have all natural type slots as matching, all recovery slots as matching. The one thing to note is that within these guys right here, we don't have super tandem yet. We have this guy with final tap, this guy with rush, and this guy with super tandem boost. So we don't have a super tandem yet. My assumption is that the character that will be focusing on super tandem will either have an ability to make tandem slots matching, or will make it allow you so you can like get a super tandem boost with another slot, or they just change tandem slots into another slot entirely. That would be my guess. So it's going to be cool when all these are all out, because all of these slots are just going to be matching for you, which is just fantastic. And then going back to the captains, right? They all have the effect, well, specifically looking at Noosejuro and Saturn, they have this ability where if you have 4 or more of these tags, 5 Elders, Celestials, or Navy, which of course when you have all of these characters together, you're going to be able to fulfill that. And if you have an attack boost that is 10x or more, this character's attacks will be super effective against all types. We have the same thing here with Jupiter. So Jupiter's captain ability also mentions the same thing when you have 4 or more of these tags, and you have a slot effect boost of 10x or more, super effective against all types. So you can see what's going on here. They want you to do that to ensure that you're hitting super effectively. Now, I think that Saturn being the captain, getting full use of super effective against all types is more important. The reason for this is because if you go down to his potential abilities, he has Rush Sugo Special. And the magical thing about this is that his Rush Sugo Special can work as the first tap of the attack, or you can work as the 6th tap of the attack. Meaning that, like, let's say you're not using him to be super effective against all types, you can still use him as the first tap to just apply this int-driven striker rush attack boost to your crew. But if you make it in such a way where he is the super effective damage dealer, having him as the final tap with his rush will just do a ton of damage. Now, I guess some people may bring up the question, well, this guy has final tap, you know, wouldn't he just be the better unit to use? And technically, he's got a good final tap where he changes his own slot, including super block, into a size slot, and then further increases the chain by 2.25. So this is fine, but if you have super effective damage, the rush of Saturn is going to be way, way better. The thing about Nostro as well is that they've designed him in such a way where they don't actually, well, it feels like they don't want you to use him as a captain. His captain ability does have utility, unlike Jupiter and Saturn. This guy here says if you have 4 more of these tags, instead of being super effective against all types, he just says you remove 10 turns of bind. So that's kind of cool. My assumption is that the 2 other additional units that are going to be coming in the next couple of weeks will probably follow the same line as this, where they don't necessarily want you to use them as a captain, but if you do, you can get some utility. Potentially one of the other remaining characters that comes out may have an effect that allows you to switch one of your captains out with someone else, very similar to, I kind of mentioned this on the stream when they revealed the other guys, but this Kobe, this Kobe that came out for one of the half Annies or whatever it was, his special ability mentions that if you have a fighter or a cerebral captain when you launch the special, optionally switch one selected character with your captain for 1 turn. On top of this, he also gives like color affinity, orb change. I mean, if this type of ability is for the 5 elders, that would actually make a lot of sense. Like, it could say if you have a 5 elder captain, switch out one of your other 5 elder characters on your crew to the captain position for an X amount of time. And this would allow you to actually fully abuse something like Nostro, who has the utility component in his captain, which is good for getting around certain gimmicks, but isn't necessarily the best for outputting damage. I mean, it depends on what content you're going up against, of course, but putting him in for a certain position for a certain amount of time could actually be very useful. So we'll see if that's what they want to go down with, especially because in his captain ability, it mentions that if you activate a special to boost attack or slot effects, it will permanently just add a 0.5, which is stackable with other raising effects. So essentially, you could go ahead and use your Saturn special ability, which it says you get a driven and striker attack boost ranging from 4 to 5 times based on the crew cost. So let's say you hit a 5 times buff. If this guy is your captain, it automatically becomes a 5.5 buff, like without any like addition on top of it. So it just passively adds 0.5, and then you can add other buffing effects on top of it, which can work really well with Jupiter, because Jupiter has an effect with his special ability, where I do need to find it real quick right here, where it says that when he uses special, it will further increase your crew's attack boost by up to 1.5 based on the outcome of the action special. So let's take that example in mind. Let's say you have that 5 times attack boost from Saturn, and then you go ahead and use this special. So you multiply it by 1.5, and ends up being a 7.5 times boost. But if Nostro was your captain, that 5 times boost from Saturn actually becomes 5.5, and then if you use Jupiter, you multiply the 5.5 by 1.5, goes up to 8.25. So that actually is a pretty big difference, because when you have a look at some of these EX supers, it mentions like when you have an orb boost of 8x or more, or you have overhealing, or you look at Saturn here where it says, you know, if you have overhealing, or you have an attack boost of 8x or more, which can trigger this effect. However, if you just look at things like they have this inbuilt effect in their special where if you have 4 or more of these tags, you just get this overhealing effect. And like these EX supers are very, very strong because it does allow you to remove even more utility, and then a 50% driven resistance. This is literally just 1.5 damage for free, like just free 1.5 damage. You've also got Jupiter, who has essentially the same kind of EX super as Saturn, where instead of removing attack down by 10, it's just paralysis removal by 10, and then the 50% driven resistance, which of course is just more damage. Speaking of more free damage, this is where Nostro comes in, because I think at face value, if you're just looking at his abilities, it doesn't really make a lot of sense why he is designed the way that he is, but it's with the context of the other characters that are released around him, it actually does make sense. So when you have a look at his special ability, his special says that if you have a 5 elder captain, when the special is launched, and a non-Psi character is set as a support on himself, or no support is set on himself, he applies a set target status to all enemies for 2 turns, For those of you who don't know, set target status legitimately is just 1.75 times free damage for any character that is either slasher or driven. And then if you kill an enemy that has set target status that is one of these two classes, they receive 2 turns of cooldown. So like during a burst turn, it's not really that important, but if you use it on an earlier turn to get some additional cooldown could be kind of cool. So the fact that you have an ability such as this to give 1.75 times damage for free from set target status, and look, even if you are doing it the other way where it says if you launch the special you have a 5 elder captain, and then this one says if you have a non-psi character set as a support or no support, but it specifically says if you do choose to have a psi character set as your support, that's when you get the driven territory. But the driven territory isn't going to matter anyway, because when you launch the special of either Jupiter or Saturn, they both apply territory driven anyway, and it's not like these driven territories are going to stack with each other, right? This is captain ability. It says driven class territory here if you have a Dex character set as a support. With Jupiter in particular, he does have driven territory with his special, but if you choose not to do the color support, then it actually just gives you a powerhouse class territory instead. So I think in a lot of cases, this is actually going to be better in the context of the full 5 elder team. So you can have driven territory and you can have powerhouse territory, which of course only really benefits Jupiter, but hey, it's still free damage at the end of the day. And then you have, on top of all of this, all of these characters are applying these massive attack and orb boosts, right? Like, it's not crazy to see the fact that when you have like Saturn, like either double Saturn or double Jupiter plus Saturn, you can get these crazy attack and orb boosts that are going up to like nearly a 10 times multiplier, right? Like, that's absurd to think about. And then you're having these other free hits of damage from resistance, set target status, and who else knows what the other characters that are coming out in the next couple of weeks are going to apply. So you can just imagine the raw damage that this team is going to be capable of doing is going to be pretty absurd. You've got Rush, you've got Final Tap, this has Super Tandem Boost, we're going to have a Super Tandem character, and my assumption is the other character will probably be another Super Tandem Boost, so that you'll have 2 Super Tandem Boosts that can trigger simultaneously when you activate Super Tandem. That's going to be my assumption, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, the way that Jupiter and Saturn kind of work, remember, is that in their captain effect, they've got a really interesting ability where it says if your crew has an attack boost and then you use a special that applies an attack boost, it will go ahead and increase the attack buff by the special that you just launched. Okay, so hypothetically, if you don't understand what that means, let's say you have Saturn's special ability, which, as we know, gives a 4 to 5 times boost based on the crew cost. So let's say you fulfill the crew cost condition, you have a 5 times attack boost. What this means is if you activate a second Saturn special, usually if you have like an attack boost and then you launch another attack boost, nothing happens. But what this is saying is okay, you launched your 5 times attack boost, let's launch a second Saturn special, and then it will say, oh, you've already got an attack boost. What was that special we were just trying to launch? Oh, it's another 5 times attack boost. Let's go ahead and just add that 5 onto here, and then it'll become a 10 times buff. So yeah, like, multipliers are going crazy here. And the same thing is said with Jupiter. So Jupiter has the exact same thing, where it's here somewhere. Yeah, if the crew has an orb boost and you launch a special to boost slot effects, treats that boost as a further raising effect. You can only launch, so if you have like double Jupiter, it only occurs once, but still the fact that this is a thing is incredibly strong. Now, it's cool, right? Because you've got like Saturn and who does attack boost, you got Jupiter that does orb boost, but Nostra is interesting because his special ability is different, where it says that after that it will boost the attack up to 5x for this character. It says this character, the character with apostrophe S, meaning himself, boosts his own attack up to 5x based on the total crew cost, including your friend captain and supports and all of that. So it's ranging between 4 times and 5 times. And then it also will boost his own slot effects up to 5 times based on the outcome of the action special. So his attack and orb, he gives both attack and orb boost up to nearly a 5 times, right? But it's only for himself. My question is, we'll have to wait and see how this actually works. If you hypothetically activate Saturn's special first, where it gives you the 5 times buff, and then you activate Nushjuro's special ability, which gives himself a 5 times attack boost, and let's say Saturn is your captain, my assumption is that this ability will allow you to get the solo attack boost from Nushjuro, but still apply it to the rainbow attack boost to the crew for int-driven striker with Saturn. And if that's the case, like, best case scenario, you activate a Saturn special, you activate a Jupiter special, both of which are your captains, and then you activate Nushjuro. His solo attack and all boost are added on to the withstanding buffs. And if that's the case, like, getting that up to 10 times bonus is going to be absurdly easy to do. So we'll have to wait and see how it all comes into play. The other thing that is kind of interesting though is that we don't have a character in this batch that does like orb manipulation. So hypothetically, if you're given a full board of like block slots, like you can't get rid of that with this team. So I'm hoping that one of the characters that comes later on is going to have really good orb changing with like crazy orb blocking mechanics potentially, and then probably something chain focused. The only character in this batch at the moment that is chain focused is Monstrous. He does have his EX super here, which allows attack buffs to be enhanced twice, which actually could be very, very good when you're trying to abuse Saturn. One thing to note as well is Monstrous' EX super is allowed to be used as a crewmate. Saturn's and Jupiter's are not allowed to be used as a crewmate, so this is a big reason as to why this guy's going to be a really good sub for this squad. So yeah, he can make it so that your attack buffs can be enhanced twice, which is very important if you're trying to abuse the captain ability of Saturn, and it also will boost the chain multiplier by 1.2 for one turn, and then also super size, super driven. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but my assumption is there's going to be a really good chain boundary, tap timing, chain multiplicative character in one of the next batches moving forward. So yeah, very, very interesting stuff here with the 5 elders. I really do like what they're doing here. I think that this entire team just seems absurdly busted. I did have a little bit of a theory that potentially Saturn could receive a 6+ because, you know, he's not in his like, this is his hybrid form. Realistically, he's not in his like his full demon form, I guess is the way to say it. So that is, I think, a potential reason. We'll have to wait and see though, but I'm excited, man, because I'm just really excited to see how this team comes together. And obviously when you have the full investments with this squad, the damage it's going to be capable of doing is going to be pretty absurd. And the other thing is, because all of these characters are giving all these characters like minus 15 turns in cooldown, right? Like yeah, so this guy right here at the bottom, 5 Elder Celestial Dragons, 15 turns of cooldown. Saturn's Captain ability, 15 turns of cooldown to 5 Elder Celestial Dragon. Jupiter reduces 5 Elder Celestial Dragon cooldown by 15 turns. And they all have like 30 turn cooldowns, right? With Limit Break expansion. What this means is that literally no matter what the content, you're going to have all of your specials ready to go at the start of the quest. Like, that is crazy. So like, not only is this team going to be doing crazy damage, it's going to have crazy specials that can give you crazy multipliers, but it will also have the ability to get around a lot of gimmicks, and all of them are going to be ready at the start of the quest. So I am supremely excited to see what is in store with the rest of the 5 elders, and I'm really excited to try and get my hands on these characters to trial them out and see how good they may be. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about these guys down below in the comment section. Are you guys excited for the 5 elders, or are you guys going to be waiting for something else? Obviously LBAF related stuff is going to be exciting, but as for right now, this is like the pinnacle of Egghead. This is like the most exciting stuff that we've seen in a hot minute. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, this little discussion today, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.